Many thanks for staying here on News Desk with me, Kwabena Chenche Heneboating, to some more stories now. And you may disagree, but the influence of mainstream politics seems to be taking over activities in our institutions of higher learning. Former First Lady Nana Konadu-Agyeman-Rawlings said due to the selfish interests of political parties, hitherto neutral student groups have been suppressed. She says she's not against students and young people taking part in politics, but her problem has to do with the many infiltrations that have come into the system because of this very issue of the major political parties taking over and running the affairs of student politics. But we do have some students here now with me in the studio to help us understand whether or not really that is the case. And joining me now in studio is Andrew Atarewene. He's the SRC president for the AUCC. I also have here with me Pakwesi Edu, who's the president of the National Union of Ghana Students. He's also joined me here. Gentlemen, good morning. Many thanks for joining us here on News Desk.
Good morning. Good morning.
So really, is this the case? Really, these major political parties have taken over and are telling you what to do?
Not exactly. The political parties have interests. Politics is a game of numbers, certainly, and you should also understand that there is a greater proportion of the population of this country that are young people, and political parties will need to keep nurturing a certain crop of people that will take over to make their ideology stand and live the test of time. So there is that conscious effort to make sure that they woo young people who probably have been able to convince their constituents in the institutions that they belong to win elections, so that they can use them through them to send a certain influence to their to prospective electorates or voters to make them be in power. But it is not the case. Yes, politicians have interest. They have always found their way how to get involved, but they are not at the center of it now.
Some will say you are being very diplomatic about this anyway, but at this point, let me say that we are going to also be joined a bit later on by Davis Ohenifobi. He is the SRC president for the University of Ghana. He's also going to join us in this very conversation. But let me now speak to Pakwesi Edu. I mean, you are with NUCS, the mother body, if I should put it that way. And we have seen NUCS, should I say, deteriorate over the past few years, because this is not the NUCS we used to know. NUCS was, it used to be a very powerful voice at the time, and many have attributed this to the role of these big parties. I do even know that there have been recent issues with elections. At the point, we even had factions. We had two NUCS. What is really the problem?
Let me begin by saying that NUCS has not deteriorated. Perhaps many people are caught in the web that the strategies and approaches the union used some years ago to deal with the challenges of the students of Ghana, same strategies and approaches should be used, but it's far different, because you agree with me to understand that the challenges of the students of Ghana 20, 30 or 40 years ago differs from the challenges the students of Ghana face today. And in those days where demonstrations...
How different are these challenges? It has to do with school fees, high utility tariffs usually. Essentially, usually has to do with money and all. So what has changed that much?
Yes, certainly it has to do with money, school fees, high utility tariffs and stuff. But maybe you realize that in those days, a number of government officials or key players in our leadership, most of them were not people who had gone through student leadership before getting to that position. And so they were very careful whenever there is a student uprising against certain decisions that they take. But today we are faced with a lot of leaders and governors who have gone through the student leadership and know how to handle issues. And we've all come to believe the fact that there is a stronger power in dialoguing and arguing out your ideas than just hitting the street. We are not writing home or taking away demonstrations whatsoever if it becomes necessary. But beyond the demonstration or beyond hitting the streets, what do we intend to achieve as a student movement or as a mass movement of students? It is to achieve results. So if you hit the street without going to the necessary offices to know what exactly the challenge is and then put across your ideas or advocate for the right thing to be done, you will come back to the same offices even after hitting the street.
To the student, this thing you're saying is, I don't know how to put it in a very polite way, but to the student, to the ordinary student, I know I do have concerns. I voted for you to do A, B, C, D for me. and you come to me and you say all the wild things, and then in the end, you go sit with these MPs and ministers and all, and then after your meeting, which many claim is usually just a front or a camouflage, you come back and then your stance usually has changed. And some are saying it hasn't really augured well for the student body over the past few years.
No, not necessarily. Let me cite the issue of the utility bill.
Okay.
When the issue came out that the students of Ghana or students in public universities should pay utility bill, we didn't hit the streets anyway. But as a student movement, we maintained a stance. We wrote to the necessary courtesies and made governments and the vice chancellors or the health institutions aware that the students of Ghana are not in the position to pay their utility bill. We didn't hit the streets, but we have maintained a stand. We have solidly stood by that stand, and nothing of that nature should happen, and we have ensured that it is not happening. Did we hit the streets? No, we didn't hit the streets. So it's not about sitting with the MPs and the ministers to have, because even at the stakeholders meetings, the National Ghana Student has always maintained its stand. So the issue about the union is deteriorating, I always disagree with that assumption or with that ideology that the union is deteriorating. Instead, the union is taking different approaches to deal with the challenges of the students of Ghana and Ghanaian students abroad. As we speak, a number of Ghanaian students who are on scholarship are having challenges with their stipends, which we are working on.
I was just about coming to that. And if you're saying you are working on this, yes. How long have you been working on this anyway? Because we've had this issue since last year.
Last year was some students in China that we worked on. Their allowances had been paid them, according to the report their president gave me. 3 days ago, I received a report from Algeria, Turkey, Ukraine, and Morocco that they are having challenges with their monthly allowances, which have not come for the past 3 months, which have not come for the past 3 months. And I asked them to send me a brief to get the whole detail of the number of students that are on the scholarship and then the cost, the total amount of money that's supposed to be paid them, and the last time they received the money, and which they are sending to the mill. And the plan is that by the close of this week, we should gather all these documents and meet the necessary.
But you're saying over the past 3 months they've not been paid, yet still the information, you got this information just 3 days ago?
Just 3 days ago.
Why so? Is it that you don't have your ears to the ground? You do not communicate with them as often as you're supposed to? Or what?
I do communicate to them. Since I came to office, I even have a WhatsApp group page with them. I communicate with them.
And throughout that 3 month period, they never mentioned this to you?
They never mentioned it. Okay.
Let me come back to Andrew Atariwene. He's the SRC president for the AUCC. So I just want to know, how much of a problem is the involvement of these big political parties with students' issues? How much of a problem is it at your level?
It's a big problem. It's a big problem because it denies student leaders to think independently. It denies student leaders to be creative and remain focused to the cause for which they were elected. And that is a big problem. I would want to differ a bit from what my senior colleague has said, that if you look at some years back, the strategies that were adopted to press home the demands of the Ghanaian student. Today, the Constitution of Ghana in Article 21 still gives us that right. Demonstration is allowed, but it proffers some other things that we could do, using the media and all that. But trust me, when you write, if you even take your concerns to the media, through maybe writing to the appropriate bodies and all the negotiation that you can do, how many people will attend to you? Because they funded your campaign. Because they were there to support you to win. And for that matter, they've clipped your wings. You cannot argue, you cannot push them to the wall. That is why student leadership of these days seem ineffective. Those days, we probably didn't meet those errors, but we grew up to hear that student leaders demand, and it was happening. They brought all the necessary reforms that probably has kept this country on a track of prosperity and good governance that we can enjoy today.
Are you suggesting that the integrity of student leaders these days
is questioned? Yes, that's what I said. It's questioned. I'm not denying the fact. I'm part of the leadership, and I'm saying that it's questioned. We need to be independent. We need to stand as a body and say that this is what we want. I don't need somebody to coerce me and tell me, oh, we are going to give you all the promise they are going to give you, and at the end of the day, you are not able to even press on the normal basic demands that your constituents have presented to you, and for the reason why you are elected as president or an executive of SRC. So we should defray or move away from mainstream politics now. It's a talent. It is a skill you can learn. You can train yourself, and then pick it up sometime.
Have you ever been approached by any politician? Proud to your election.
When you say politician, directly a politician coming to say I'm an MP, I'm coming to
no.
But yes, you would have that calls from other groups that feels that, oh, this, even from your message, they feel that, oh, can you reword this message? We think that it is too. When I was PRO for GNOPS, I was national PRO for the Ghana National Union of Polytechnic Students. And, you would have calls that we expect that your outfit would come out and talk about this issue that is on the media.
So you're saying that the political parties came to you.
Yeah.
Did they propose to fund you?
It was only proposed that they won't propose to fund you. They would offer you the opportunity. When you do this, it is beautiful. Don't you think that this affects you? They kind of, stir you up.
So they give you the ideas.
That is what they seek to do. But the point is, did you give me the ideas to campaign to win that election? I belong to a certain community. I have identified concerns of that community that I have come to address. And so I don't need you to tell me. I am coming to you to let you implement the things that, that concerns my community. So if you say that you are not telling me, you are trying to offer me solutions or give me ideas, I don't think it's the best. So I am concerned of the fact that student leaders of our days, of our time, should be independent thinkers. We should be creative enough. We should live independently. And one funny thing, the seeming trust and assumption that any student politician or anybody who is contesting for a position is probably rich or has some benefits is what is even making the situation very worse. My class funded my campaign. And my campaign in AUCC, my class, they bought the form, they did everything. Now, I owe not even my class who funded my campaign any allegiance. I owe the students of AUCC that allegiance to ensure that all the promises that I made, I would abide by same. But in this case, we have politicians that will take over, fund your campaign, and for that matter, you come, you're always singing their praises. And that is why I'm saying that we should, desist from that. And students should also stop relying on, you're an SRC president. If I was even taking some one city from you as a class rep, immediately I become SRC president. Then the terrain is supposed to change. That is what breeds corruption. That is what breeds, the malfunctioning of student leaders, in our system, and we need to change that.
Okay, so like I said, Davis Ohinifobi, who is the SRC president for the University of Ghana, has now joined us, and he's also going to share his thoughts on this. I mean, University of Ghana is quite a big constituency, really, and it's one of the biggest parts of the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency as well. I know there's been a lot of issues with the University of Ghana and elections and people paying monies and bribes and all. Yes, I do know. And let's look at the University of Ghana terrain. He has mentioned the terrain at the UCC and he says it's a bit problematic. Is that the same scenario for you too?
I think partisan politics in universities, especially with the public universities, a university like University of Ghana cannot be overlooked. Because clearly, in my university, for instance, we have the youth wing of parties operating there. We have TESCON, we have TIN, and CPP and other parties are in the pipeline. They want to get their student groups on campus. So the probability of such instances appearing on campus, it's high as compared to other schools that might not have these channels on campus or that might not have these groups on campus. So partisan politics, I think it's a bit higher in University of Ghana, but it depends on the person who is contesting for the position.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Andrew a short while ago. Whether or not you've been approached by any politician before, I mean, prior to your election, because as I speak to you, we've picked up information that even at GIJ, the Ghana Institute of Journalism, one candidate has been approached, has been given 10,000 Ghana cedis to campaign. Have you ever been in any such situation, or have you witnessed or heard any such thing?
Yeah, I think I can speak for myself. I was in the race last year, and probably tomorrow, I think election will be done in Legon, and there will be electing a new SRC president. But using my election as an example, I can state on authority that without any hesitation whatsoever, that my campaign was a campaign that was fully sponsored. I don't know, I would say about 90% sponsored by my mother, and the rest were by friends, roommates, course mates, and friends that I happen to know in other groups and other things. Those were the people who sponsored me. These party things, although they play a role in other places, but me as an individual, I was approached by people all over, but not necessarily maybe with political tags or something like that. There are friends maybe who might be linked to one of these political parties who will want to come maybe and offer you advice. This is what we think you should do. Maybe if you are to tailor your message in this way, we think it will be better. Maybe from afar, some could even be.
I asked that question because I have seen situations where the BNI has been involved in student elections, student politics, and I ask myself why. What interest does the BNI have in some of these things? And it's not once, not twice. That's why I'm asking that.
Yeah, I think using my election as an example, I think that is the most recent election that the BNI unnecessarily came in. My election, from level 100, I made a lot of friends. Sometimes when you know that you'll be entering into some of these positions, these are things that are nurtured. You just have to get a passion to serve students. You nurture it over time before you can actually serve students. So when you get that passion, you just have to identify some people who can help you in achieving your goals so that you can lead the constituents that you intend leading. So from level 100, I made a lot of acquaintances. I had a lot of team friends. I had a lot of TESCON friends. But majority of my friends happened to be from TESCON. So on that note, it was assumed that since majority of my campaign members are coming from TESCON, I am an MPP person.
And you think it was a bad assumption? It was a wrong assumption?
It was a wrong assumption.
Okay.
It was a wrong assumption. And on the other side,
so it was essentially between the MPP and NDC?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So when the election went against the other guy who is perceived to be from NDC.
The NDC camp?
Yeah.
Then the BNI issue came in.
BNI came in unnecessarily.
What role did the BNI play there exactly?
I think as it stands now, I don't even know the actual role the BNI played, because the BNI was never invited by the university to come in. So as it stands now, we don't even know whether they have any reports, because the university was not even willing to accept any reports from them because they did not task BNI to do anything for the university.
Okay. Let's look at the way forward. Obviously, we've all established that there's a problem. Let's look at the way forward. Maybe we could start off with you, Davis Ohinifobi, and then we can end with Andrew.
Yeah, I think the way forward is simple. It should depend on what student leaders or maybe students who intend to lead their various constituents or their various students in their universities or maybe their universities or other tertiary institutions or maybe senior high schools and other, the vision that they have and what they actually want to do. If you are indeed coming into office, or maybe you are coming and you have the interest of students at heart and you want to serve the students with
sorry to cut you, but it's not really about having the interest at heart. It essentially has to do with funding. If you don't have the money, you can't get the people to vote for you. Exactly. So if you can address that issue.
Yeah, I was coming there.
In 30 seconds.
Although you might get the funding from some people, but the fact that someone is funding you does not necessarily mean that you should be licking that person's boots. It depends on what you want and what you represent.
So Andrew, at this point, let me bring you in. Do you think it's going to a time where we probably need to look at funding student politics?
Yes,
maybe the universities themselves need to look at it.
We need to. I am calling on the Ministry of Education and all other stakeholders in education to look at this thing carefully. Because we should look at, you are contesting an election within a certain confinement, your institution. Why print T-shirts? Are you a political party? Why do big banners and you have to meet people, buy drinks, buy food, fund groups to be chanting your names all along? It doesn't make sense. It's absurd. The absolute issue is that students are hard-pressed with a lot of challenges that need solution. You can only rally around their aspirations and then fight on. This is what should ginger you, not to fund. And now, I'm telling you, I come from a very poor background. So how then would I have gotten all this money to make sure that I fund? And after that, I can't even pay my fees. After that, I have to go and make sure that I have to get money to pay back loans. Right. Or I have to now serve the interests of those that funded me. We should look at streamlining this. If you have overspent, we see some banners and all that, you should be disqualified. So that we can rip off these self-serving, students, leaders, and then get people that are committed to the work to push the agenda of the students.
Right. Those are the final words of Andrew Ataruweni. He is the SRC president for the AUCC, and he's been in the studio here with Davis Ohinifobi, who happens to be the SRC president for the University of Ghana, Legon. We also had here in the studio Park Kusiedu, who is the president of the National Union of Ghana Students. Gentlemen, thank you once more for your time on News Desk. And again, at one point in time, I was a student leader, so I do understand some of the concerns you're raising anyway. But we're taking another break here on News Desk. When we come back, we'll bring you business and sports. Stay with us.